And this guy changes the way he was standing. He comes closer, looks at me and tells me that, wait, you've been working for 2 hours. And I said, yes. And he looks at me again in disbelief. His eyes looking at me in some certain way, trying to, really comprehend what I had said. So it happened that someone reached out to me and told me that she wanted to go on a long distance walking, and I offered to help. And while we were returning back, we saw a place. There was I think the building looks like a library here, and I think the person was actually, in search of a library to use for a work. So she said she was going to go to the place to go and make inquiries. I was standing outside. There was a car that was parked, behind me. So while my friend went inside this place to go and make the inquiries, so this guy walked up to me, looking all clean, looking all good, I'm not gonna lie, and he's saying things like, oh, hi, good evening, I like your stature, I like the way you look, yada yada. And then he asked me if I'm coming from the gym, and I said no, I'm not coming from the gym, that I went for a walk. And I was like, oh, that's nice, did you go to that junction? And I'm like, no. I told him where I was coming from, and that apparently I'd used about 2 hours on the road. And this guy changes the way he was standing. He comes closer, looks at me and tells me that, wait, so you've been working for 2 hours? And I said, yes. And he looks at me again in disbelief. His eyes looking at me in some certain way, trying to, really comprehend what I had said, as if what I had said is something that no one has done before. In my head, I'm like, I've run for longer distances, but I didn't even say that. Because if he can react like that for 2 hours walking, what is this guy going to say if I tell him that I've been running for 4 hours? And so he says, what exactly is that thing that is challenging you or troubling you that will make you decide to go for a walk for 2 hours straight? And he was really getting serious, I should really talk to him. And I'm like, does something have to be wrong with me before I decide to go for a road walk? When you see people going for walking, either long distance, short distance, it is because they prioritize their health. It is because maybe they are doing it for a cause. There are so many reasons people choose or decide to do things. So when you see people running, walking, don't just assume that they are running or walking because they have a problem, or they don't have anything better to do with their time. Or some people genuinely do not have time. They genuinely squeeze time out of their busy days to include walking or running or fitness activities into it. It takes a lot of discipline to be able to live that kind of lifestyle. It's not easy, and it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. But just because it doesn't make sense to you does not mean that you should undermine what they are doing. Be kind, be nice to people. When you don't understand why people do things, ask questions. Don't just assume things. You know what I mean?